to Daily Riot. Today we have a CNN commentator that gets absolutely obliterated by James Fishback. And who's James Fishback? He is the originator of the DOGE dividend. Let's jump into it.
Well, who better to answer some of these questions than James Fishback, the CEO of Azoria, the originator of the DOGE dividend. James, thank you for being here. How did this all come to pass?
Well, good morning, Michael. To tell you the truth, it came to me in a dream. I woke up, I called our head of research at Azoria, we met at Capitol Grill, we fleshed this thing out in 2 hours, and I'm honored that the president has endorsed it. This is a real plan to send the savings that DOGE generates over the next couple of years right back into the pockets of hardworking Americans all across this country. They deserve it. It was their money in the first place, and they need a break.
Okay, I'm all for ridding the government of waste, fraud, and abuse. But at some level, isn't it all illusory? In other words, if there's a quote-unquote savings made by Elon Musk and DOGE, we're still $36 trillion in debt. So there's no pie to cut up. There's no slice of the pizza that I can hand back to you unless we continue to borrow those funds.
That's rich coming from Democrats because they were printing money at unprecedented levels, going into debt at unprecedented levels, so that they can send money to Ukraine, so they could send money to transgender operas in Myanmar, some transgender raves, drag shows, Sesame Street in Iraq. Absolute insanity. They were just throwing our hard-earned dollars away. That was my money. I had to work for that money. Now that Elon and Trump want to return the defrauded money back to Americans where it belongs, you all of a sudden have a problem. You all of a sudden start remembering that we have to pay off our debt. Where were you when you were making the debt? It's just enraging. You can't hate these people enough. No matter how much you hate them, there's always room for more because one of these douche-knots will always go on TV and say something to make you hate them even more.
Our plan's really simple. Over the next couple of years, DOGE will save a set amount of money. We're going to take 20% of that and put it right back in the hands of taxpayers. The other 80, as President Trump has pointed out, will go back to paying down the debt and narrowing the deficit. Here's the truth, Michael. For every $5 that DOGE saves, as we believe calculated by the Congressional Budget Office, when this whole project is said and done next summer, for every $5, $1 goes back to the pockets of American taxpayers. Here's why. They sent their money to D.C. to be spent in America, not to be abused, not to be disrespected, and not to be defrauded. That $20 million to Iraqi Sesame Street, that money sent for a transgender opera in Colombia, all at the same time, Michael, that we have roads and bridges crumbling. We're losing 900 Americans every day to deaths of despair, alcoholism, and suicide. 8 out of 10 Black American fourth graders are not even reading at grade level. This is pathetic. The Americans sent their money to be spent in America. They were defrauded. They were lied to. They now deserve restitution. And the second point that President Trump, just one sec, Michael, the second point that President Trump brought up on Air Force One is that these DOGE dividends will incentivize Americans to report waste, fraud, and abuse in their own community. Why? Why? Because the more that DOGE saves, the bigger their DOGE dividend check will be. Remember, in economics, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. We're giving every American.
I'm going to get to the economics. Come on, I gave you a chance for a great sound bite. You got and those soft power exercises make for great sound bites. But when you drill down, for example, on Sesame Street in Iraq, they often make sense. Joseph Nye from Harvard, who gets credited with the coinage of the word soft power, you'd rather spend on that than bullets. But wait. You want to
Wait a minute. This guy's actually advocating for Sesame Street in Iraq because he thinks, well, I should say the Democrats think this, right? Because one of their Harvard experts, right? We already know that all these people are DEI hires. These experts and everything they use, they're also being paid by USAID. They've funded the entire machine, the entire apparatus that works to get a certain propaganda message out there. The entire transgender thing, trying to change the entire social fabric of America in the last 4 years. Because make no mistake, this started 4 years ago with Joe Biden coming in, and they kept saying the new normal, the new normal. So they had this planned out long before even 4 years ago. So they started this 4 years ago and used USAID to funnel our tax dollars into all of these different programs. They already got busted funding like every single one of the commercial mainstream media news outlets to pump out various different stories that back up their nonsense, even in print publications. Like, this was a mass operation. And this is the kind of thing that the CIA would do overseas. Whenever we wanted to, for or cause a revolution in another country to get rid of, certain people in power, they would turn the public against those in power. Now, they've taken that knowledge that they've learned over the years, and now they brought it into the USA, and they're practicing the same thing, trying to weaponize the American people against Donald Trump, against Elon Musk. But what ended up happening was the reverse. People weren't that dumb, most of them.
Hold on, there was a terrorist attack in Iraq last month that killed 40 people. It's clearly not working. Soft power and Sesame Street are not working. If there are terrorists, we need to kill the terrorists. We don't need to fund Big Bird and Elmo.
Maybe the terrorist would have been better off watching Big Bird than learning in a madrasa. Let me make my point. Put on the screen from the Peterson Foundation. This is where the rubber meets the road. We are $36 trillion in debt. I don't know if you can see that.
That's the debt that you guys created. Yeah. All the billions of dollars, the hundreds of billions of dollars that you guys sent outside of this country, that hard-earned money that Americans earned and sent to you in tax dollars to be spent on Americans, you sent that out. And you printed over and over. That's how it works, by the way. So a lot of people wonder, how do we go into debt? How does America go into debt? We go into debt by printing money, right? And taxes are a way of the Federal Reserve collecting the interest on that money and the actual premium. They're going to collect that from the taxpayers. So it's not like you have to agree in the beginning, right? They can just print it up whenever they want, go further and further into debt, and then, the IRS is there to ensure that they will come after us and make us pay. They'll make us pay. They didn't care when they were in power. Now, because of that, you guys all of a sudden remembered that, oh, what about our debt that we need to pay? No. We'll worry about paying that debt when you guys are in power. How about that? We'll make sure that you guys don't have a penny to spend on anything you want to spend, and we'll make sure that you pay that debt off that you created. You're not going to get us to pay the debt that you created. We still should, though. I mean, it's just a damn shame that we have to fix what they broke. It's unfair. Anyways, I hope Elon, with his group of hackers, goes through everything with a fine-tooth comb, finds out every single person who's responsible for this, for any of this last 4 years that have happened. And Pam Bondi, Attorney General, and Kash Patel, they form a task force to go after every single one of these Democrats and make sure they see the inside of a prison cell.
But that's 106,121 for every single person in America. So if Elon Musk is successful in saving us money from waste, fraud, and abuse, and by the way, James, I hope that he is. I don't like the approach, but I like the fact that something's being done. There is no money in the till. We owe $36 trillion. We owe $106,000 each. So whatever the savings ought to be, it's not like President Trump's doing us a favor by giving us 20%. Everything ought to go to the debt because the Peterson people say by 2050, 50% of all revenue is going to go to satisfying interest on the debt.
That you created.
We should be paying the debt. Your response?
My response is this. We should be paying the debt, which is why the DOGE dividend incentivizes every American to call out waste, fraud, and abuse, to lower the budget, to narrow the deficit, and to bring down the debt. Where was this emergency over the debt when we sent $350 billion to Ukraine to be wasted? Where was this emergency, Michael, on CNN when you guys were advocating $7,000 to migrants in Chicago? $7,000 a month per migrant, and now we want to spend $5,000 one time from President Trump to hardworking Americans. The migrants didn't deserve $7,000 a month. Hardworking Americans deserve a $5,000 check with President Trump's name on it. So enough with the double standard. Ukraine did not deserve $350 billion.
Okay, listen to me. Listen to me. This is Madoff-like. This is a Ponzi scheme.
No,
We
Ukraine
don't
was a
have-
Ponzi
we-
scheme. The
we-
migrant funding
okay,
was a Ponzi
you're not
scheme.
gonna divert- no, you're not
Hardworking
gonna divert
Americans
me.
deserve a break. It
James,
was their money,
you're not
Michael.
gonna
It was
divert
their
me.
money.
James, give me a chance to speak. Theoretically, it's my program. We don't have the money, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a Ponzi.
So we didn't have the
made
money
off
for Ukraine, right? We didn't have the money for Ukraine.
Am I gonna-
$350 billion.
I never do this. I don't want to be that guy. And do I have to silence your microphone so that I can respond to
Got
what
him,
you've said?
Coach.
Because there's
Got
so much
him.
fallacy in what you've just offered.
First of all, he goes, we don't have the money. Bro, we didn't have the money when you guys sent it to Ukraine. We didn't have the money when you guys gave hundreds of billions to illegal immigrants. We didn't have the money when you guys sent it overseas to various DEI programs. You didn't care about that then. You were just printing up money, using taxpayer dollars, and sending it out there, putting us further into debt and causing more and more inflation. Now you're concerned about we don't have the money? Don't worry, we're going to have the money because we're going to save that money that you guys stole. All the programs that you guys funded that were DEI and all the nonsense that you guys did that no American approved. Nobody was there to vote for that. I didn't vote for that.
Please
I
go
have
ahead
a
and
very
refute it.
simple I have a very simple premise here. We're $36 trillion in debt. It's a fraud. As much as I want to see us cut waste, fraud, and abuse, it is an absolute fraud to say to the American people, because of what Musk is doing, we have $5,000 to give each of you. The only way we have $5,000 is if we're borrowing it, because we're that far in debt. I'm trying to meet you halfway, which
No.
is simply to say, what a good thing that finally we're going to look at waste, fraud, and abuse, albeit it shouldn't be in this haphazard fashion. But let's at least be honest with the American people that whatever we quote unquote save, we already owe. Now I'm going to give you 30 seconds to respond, and then I'm going to say, see you later. Go ahead.
Michael, let me say this. We're fellow Americans. We care about this issue, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to come on this program, but I got to speak truth here. At the end of the day, we've got to send the money back that is saved, just 20% of it. The other 80% goes down to paying the national debt and narrowing the deficit. To your point, yes, there has been a fraud against the American people, the Green New Scam, Ukraine, the migrant crisis. Their taxpayer dollars were sent abroad, were not sent at home, were not spent in America, not on healthcare, not on education. That ends with President Trump's leadership today. He is delivering on his promise
Okay.
of major government reform, Michael. The DOGE dividend plan
Okay.
is bold,
Thank
and
you.
Americans support it.
All right, I'm calling time on all of that. I appreciate your being here. I think we've each, I hope, made our respective points.
Absolutely obliterated, guys. Absolutely obliterated. The guy had a response, a perfect response to everything they said, right? If I was there debating him, even with all the information in hindsight, I would have said the same exact things. But notice the absolute crazy in the eyes of this commentator. This must be like a Democrat thing, right? They all have this crazy look. Look at that. They all have this crazy deranged look in their eyes. And then look at the Republican. You never see Republicans look like these lunatics right here. I mean, these eyes should tell you everything. And you can see them on AOC. You can see them on every single Democrat you look at. They have these lunatic, deranged eyes. That's how I judge people. I look at their faces, because here's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't realize is that they say, you can't judge a book by its cover. Most of the time you can. Most of the time you can. You look at a person's face, their personality shapes their face. When you look at somebody's face, you can immediately tell if that person is an evil person, a good person, a kind person. It's all written on their face. And when you look at these people, just take a look at this guy. Take a look at any Democrat's face. They're pure evil. It's written all over their faces.